That's Simon Amaya Price. I have two last names.
Okay, sorry.
No worries. It happens. Database breaker. Good afternoon. Thank you for introducing this bill and allowing me to testify. My name is Simon Amaya Price. Today I sit in front of you as a 20-year-old man, but for 3 years I thought I was a girl. I received my bachelor's degree in music last December with additional coursework at Harvard University in statistics. I remember being 14. I was sitting in my pediatrician's office explaining to him that I was transgender and that my father wasn't affirming my new identity. So my pediatrician asked my father, "Would you like a dead son or a living daughter?" I was in the room when he asked this question. There is no other situation when a doctor is allowed to suggest suicide like this to a patient, and quite frankly, it's medical malpractice. If you ask parents of trans-identified kids and other detransitioners, you'll discover that this is a common line used to manipulate parents into consenting to these procedures. Despite being referred to my local gender clinic 3 times by 3 separate doctors, the emotional blackmail, and my gender dysphoria diagnosis, my father refused to take me to be medicalized. And I hated him for it at the time. But now, I am deeply grateful. And it's not just me. 3% of my generation identifies as transgender. Between the time I left my high school in 10th grade and my class graduated, 1/6 of the boys in my class started identifying as trans, many of whom medicalized. My girlfriend is a detransitioner. And I can't do much more than pray that if and when we decide to have kids, that despite the double mastectomy, which precludes her from ever breastfeeding, and the 4 years of cross-sex hormones she was given starting from when she was a minor, that she is able to carry a pregnancy to term. The other side believes that if you don't give trans-identified kids puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgeries, they will kill themselves. That is a damned lie. I am living proof of that fact. I was not put on hormones, I was not operated on, and I have grown up to be a healthy and happy 20-year-old man. I have also talked to parents with detransitioner children who killed themselves after realizing they regretted what they had done to their bodies. What would you say to those parents? The other side of this issue has both psychological and economic incentives to oppose this bill. Imagine, if you will, having administered cross-sex hormones or puberty blockers or referred children to have such procedures. What would you do if you were presented with the evidence that what you were doing wasn't helping your patients, but indeed permanently harming your patients? I know I would have a very hard time accepting that. Transgender healthcare is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Though estimates vary, the lifetime cost of providing a trans-identified individual with hormones and surgeries exceeds $100,000 on average. What would you do if you were a hospital administrator or a doctor who made $1 million for every 10 patients you treated? If you are serious about protecting families and the health of children, you must vote for this bill. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Representative Tejas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for taking my question. I apologize. Where did you say you were from? Where do you
Massachusetts.
live? Okay, thank you. Follow.
Oh,
Were you paid to give this testimony today?
I wish.
anyone else? Representative DeLamus.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for taking my question. What influenced your transgender identification?
I experienced 2 years of near daily homophobic bullying in 7th and 8th grade. I was called the F slur, which I will not repeat, on a near daily basis by my classmates, and I received little to no sympathy from the administration. I moved to a new school in 9th grade. Shortly after, my friend group left me, and I was sexually assaulted by an older boy who was 18 at the time on a school trip. I started looking for answers. I didn't understand what I was going through. This distress I was feeling was real. I joined the Gay Straight Alliance, or the Gender and Sexuality Alliance, and we watched this trans YouTuber called ContraPoints, who is a male to female transitioner. This is where I learned about the concept of gender dysphoria and the fact that there is a clear pathway to solve what I thought I was feeling. I was uncomfortable with my secondary sexual characteristics. I was uncomfortable with being a man, and I was dissociated from my body. It didn't help that in my health class, I was taught about the gender unicorn, and the teacher asked me and my classmates to place our identities of sex, gender identity, gender expression, romantic attraction, and sexual attraction on these spectra. And I think that sums it up pretty well. Additionally, I am bisexual, and I am autistic, and I suffered from a lot of internalized homophobia, obviously, and difficulties pertaining to socialization due to the fact that I am autistic.
Follow-up?
Just actually a second question. With kind of coattailing off of Representative Tejas, so why are you here today to testify to us then?
I am here today because I have lost two of my friends to suicide. In my generation, and in my age group rather, suicide is the second leading cause of death. This is a large population level problem, and it sickens me that trans rights activists are using my dead friends as bargaining chips. My girlfriend has been permanently harmed by these medical treatments. My friend Corey over there has been permanently harmed by these medical treatments. Kids are being lied to, parents are being emotionally manipulated, and I personally think that this is the worst medical experimentation we have seen since World War II. The same hormones we are giving young boys were the same hormones we administered to Alan Turing in Britain to cure his homosexuality. This is unforgivable. Additionally, I take deep offense with those who compare people like me advocating for my side to Nazis. I'm Jewish. People have called me a Nazi for speaking up about this. Yesterday, somebody tried to dox me. The other side doesn't want people like me to exist because I invalidate a central tenet of their ideology. That's why I'm here today.
Thank you so much.
Representative Kesselring.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to ask you a question specific to like other people that have testified today. Is there anything that you had for therapies or anything else that you have dealt with over the years that helped you through the process of anything?
I was extremely lucky to my dad actually helped me a lot. He was able to find me a better therapist compared to my previous gender affirming therapist, who was able to deal with my underlying problems, my sexual trauma, my depression, my anxiety, my PTSD-like symptoms, and learning to accept the fact that I'm autistic. I also found joining a sexual assault survivor support group my second year of college very helpful. At the end of the day, 75% of it was luck, 25% of it was maybe my dad saying no, he did not affirm me, and 5% of it was my own critical thinking skills. The more I talked to other detransitioners, the more I realized just how close I was to doing irreparable harm to my body. And I've had nightmares for years about waking up paralyzed on a surgeon's table, looking down at my genitalia and seeing the penile inversion surgeries which are done on boys like me.
All set? One final question, yeah?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So what would you say to young trans boys?
It might be hard to understand right now, but if you don't do anything to permanently alter your body, you'll be healthier in the long run. You won't risk regretting the permanent harm you've done to your body, and someday somebody will love you for who and what you are. I didn't believe it when I was 14. I didn't believe that for years, but I have been lucky to meet some very special people, you know, my girlfriend, not least of which, whom rather, have loved me for me and accepted the fact that I am a man. It was very difficult for me growing up because I felt like masculinity and being a man was villainized. I grew up in Boston, which is a very liberal city, and I felt like I was the kind of the subject of this collective guilt, that all of the crimes that men commit, people would talk about how men commit all of the murders, all of the rape, all of the sexual assault, and that all men were somehow guilty of that. That weighed very hardly on me. And you're loved, you will be loved regardless of the fact that you are a man. We need men. There are many ways to be a man. You don't have to be a gun-toting, southern, cowboy hat, yeehaw type of guy. You can be feminine. You can be pretty. You can love other men. And none of that makes you any less of a man.
Okay, thank you.